Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Onyx Path Twitch, where today we have gathered to play some Exalted Essence, or more accurately, to perform our session 0 of Exalted Essence. This is a brand new campaign using the Essence rules. I have some fun stuff planned for it, I think. I think it'll be a good time. Before we dive in, though, and meet our cast and all that jazz, there are a couple things that I would like to share with you. First of all, our latest release over at Drive-Thru RPG is the Squeaks in the Deep Companion. That is for, of course, Realms of Pugmire, Monarchies of Mao, and Squeaks in the Deep. It is, if I'm not mistaken, it's the last first edition book for Realms of Pugmire, and it introduces hares and rabbits as playable characters, as well as their society. Lots of other cool stuff as well. That is available at the link I just shared in the chat. Other things that are available in, at least in PDF at the moment, we have the Curseborn Ashcan edition. If you haven't picked it up yet, you absolutely should do so. It is the forthcoming modern horror urban fantasy setting from Onyx Path Publishing using the Storypath Ultra system. There was an actual play that premiered at Onyx PathCon that you can watch over at our YouTube channel. I believe there were some Q&As done either last Friday or this coming Friday on the Pathcast. So definitely check that out and take your first steps into the world of Curseborn. And lastly, I want to thank everybody for their support so far or during the Kickstarter for Branch Riders that wrapped up yesterday successfully, over 200% funded, I do believe. And I want to call your attention to another Kickstarter that I'm running for my company for Bizarre Kingdoms, which is a Savage Worlds Fantasy Edition expansion using the Odysseys and Overlord setting published by Aegis Studios, the company that I own. Since we don't have an active Kickstarter right now, I don't feel too bad promoting my own. So that is my moment of self-service for the day. With that being said, I believe all the bills are paid. Let's meet our cast. So because I'm a fan of going clockwise, let's kick it off with Bliss. Please tell us who you are, what you do, your pronouns, and anything you would like to promote.
Hello, I am Bliss Deal, she, her, and I stream on spicy sites playing video games and also do the Loot the Bodies, Loot D&D on joystick every Monday. And nothing I really want to promote right now, just regular streaming and stuff. Go to blissdeal.com if you are interested and you're over 18.
Yes, grown folks only, please. Thank you so much, Bliss. I appreciate it. And as a matter of fact, we have the grown folks filter on this channel. So if you're a child, stop watching. It's not good. We're gonna say bad words and do violent things to non-player characters. So next up, Michael, if you could please tell us who you are, what you do, your pronouns, and anything you would care to promote.
Hi, my name's Michael, he, them. I am a sound designer, voice actor, and I actually don't really care to promote anything so far besides the fact that I do stream on Twitch, uh, restructuring right now, so probably a little bit more information next time. But yeah,
Excellent. Once you have that, do you have the channel name, or are you like
I do have the
rebranding?
channel name. I
What
do
is?
have the channel name as well. I am asterisk VTuber, so
And that's all one word.
that is all one word.
Awesome. I will throw a shout out in the channel. And encourage our viewers to go give a follow. Keep an eye out for
Thank you, thank
when
you.
Michael returns in full force. And last but most certainly not least, Ryan, please, your pertinent details.
Yeah, I'm Ryan. I go by they them for consistency, but you can refer to me by any pronoun. Any pronoun but late for dinner. Let's get that awkward joke out of the way. I'm actually foregoing my usual Friday afternoon for me stream to be here, so you can catch me Tuesdays, most Wednesdays right now because I stream post counseling, Thursdays and Fridays at Comrade Bubbles. Should just be able to click my name in the chat. Yeah, I also do tabletop writing and editing when I can swing the contract and try to help support any online AP that will have me.
Well, we are thrilled and pleased to have you. It's always a joy to get to share a table with you, Ryan. I'm glad that we're going to be able to get some gaming time in on a relatively regular basis for a indeterminate but hopefully not short period of time. So with that said, we have met our glorious cast. I'm Travis, by the way, pronouns he, they. When I'm not running games, I'm writing them. So let's dive in. We're going to make some characters for Exalted Essence. Now, those of you who might not be familiar with it, Exalted Essence is a rules light version of Exalted. Exalted is a fantasy game set in the time of tumult. It is a high fantasy set in the world of creation. It's very different from the world outside your window. And we will get into introducing the setting elements throughout the course of this session 0 as well as the campaign. I know Exalted is wildly loved by those who are fans of the setting. So please don't hold my feet to the fire too hard as we play a little fast and loose perhaps with some of the lore. The lore in the books can be quite deep, but we're going to use what we need to use and ignore the rest for the sake of brevity, simplicity, and keeping me from doing 150 hours of research between each session. But I am going to throw the link for Exalted Essence up in the chat. You can get it in PDF or POD right now over at DriveThruRPG. So again, this is the rules light version. This is designed for a quicker play experience, simpler play experience. It's designed to allow the various exalt types space at the table. But the concept that we are working with for that, for this particular campaign, is that all of the players will be dragon-blooded, and all of the players will be members of a wild hunt. And a wild hunt is effectively a group of dragon-blooded, exalted, and their associates, often led by members of the Immaculate Order, the monks, who have gathered to hunt down one of the anathema. Generally a term applied to solar or lunar exalted, but really can apply to any exalt, and possibly even gods or remarkably powerful mortals who have earned the ire of the dragon-blooded. The dragon-blooded are the rulers of the realm, the government that covers most of the Blessed Isle, the central landmass in creation. And are considered by the people of the realm to be rulers of divine providence. They were ordained by heaven to rule. Excellent. Thank you very much. I just noticed in the chat rules light and that essence rules are about normal because normal exalted is crunchy as hell. That is not an inaccurate assessment of exalted. So the idea being that we are going to begin our play with the characters joining this wild hunt, and then we'll see where it goes from there. The action of this game will be taking place in the west of creation, and we can delve a little bit into what that means, but for our purposes right now, the important thing is that is near each direction of the map has sort of a elemental pole connected to it. In the west is the pole of water. So water exalts may experience a slightly greater utility or slightly higher amount of power here. The terrestrial, exalted, or dragon-blooded are aligned with the 5 elements of earth, air, fire, water, and wood. And those who are of the houses of the realm, their house lines tend to lean into specific elements, but you can be of any element and be of any house. It's not restrictive. I know that's a lot of information I just poured down the barrel of a shotgun and fired at everybody. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask as we move forward. As we discussed earlier, you each have your handy Essence editable character sheet in front of you. Is that correct? Great. And then we can get into our character creation. So what we need first is our concepts. What sort of hero would you like to play? We know that we are going to be dragon-blooded, terrestrial exalts, but what within that would you like to aim for? This can be very specific if you've had a chance to look into, or a past familiar with the setting. You could say, I want to play a member of House Vanif who is air aspected and focuses on, their magical studies. That's fine. Your concepts can also be, I want to hit things with a big sword, like and anywhere along that spectrum. So to call on folks in the reverse order, sorry, my cat is being a cat back there because naturally he wants my attention. So to call on things in the reverse order, Ryan, do you have a concept in mind for what you would like your character to be?
No. Short answer. Long answer is heck no. Sorry. Also, for people in the chat, I have a cold. I'm going to try to mute before every cough, but I can't guarantee everything will be muted. I guess my thing is that I am absolutely that player who, if there is a moment of silence and it looks like people are shy, I will try to step in and fill it. So usually I end up playing the face of the party no matter what my concept is. Does anyone particularly want to play the face? I know with 3 people, you've kind of got the face, the muscle, and the brains to round out the experience.
I don't know. We could be the face, and the face. That would Cerberus the thing,
You could be all faces. That is true. One thing I will point out is the dragon-blooded are known as exceptional leaders and wonderful at teamwork. So it is very easy, in essence, to build a character who is focused entirely around commanding underlings. So, we could have basically 3 summoners, right? Where you're all in the back while everybody else is doing the hard shit. And there are many routes you can take in Exalted to get there. You could have one person whose whole thing is about commanding troops, and you take a merit that gives you a literal army that you can command, whereas another one is all about summoning demons, so you take charms that give you the ability to summon and control demons, while the other one is about negotiating deals with elementals. So all these things are possible. So you really could have a game that's the face, and the face, if that's what you wanted to do.
Although seriously though, I was going to do some shilling for the game here, if that's okay, Travis.
Sure, shill away.
But for people who, like me, usually have too many concepts floating around, Essence does give you archetypes to choose from with pre-built charm lists. If you are looking through the rulebook and going, there's just so much information even here in the Streamline rule set. But no, I was glancing through the charms before, I think it was last week, and I thought sorcery might be a cool thing to engage with, because my previous Exalted experience is very wood aspect ranger style build. So okay. I was trying to step away from that, and sorcery and necromancy are definitely as far away from that as I could think.
Okay, so for concept, maybe just you put down, the mystic, and then maybe we will expand that out as we build, if that
For sure.
sounds fair.
Yep.
Cool. How about Michael? Do you have anything in mind for a specific concept?
Not necessarily mechanically. I don't really care too much about the mechanical concept of it, but I do like us the story aspect of being someone from House Acelsi needing to work with other people,
Oh,
and
excellent.
whether or not it means that they are giving up their own house's ambitions, or if they're still working in the shadows with it.
Okay, okay. And if you could, can you give for the audience just a real brief breakdown of SLC's sort of MO, the bird's eye view of what the house is about?
Oh, okay. Long story short, House of Celsi done goofed, fucked up, and tried, and found out, in that sense, and they're dismantled, completely dismantled. Most everybody else thinks that everybody from House of Celsi is gone in the wind, but in reality, there's still technically a House of Celsi, but there is no House of Celsi. You get it? It's gone. All of it is gone. And they survived now through just being underneath it all, underneath the shadows and everything, and trying to plot their return in some way because they failed to assassinate the Empress, and they suffer the consequences.
Love it. I absolutely love it. For those of you who are perhaps unfamiliar with Exalted, but are perhaps familiar with Trinity Aeon, they occupy a somewhat similar space to the Chitrabanu, but I would say more intrigue and assassination and devious based, perhaps, than our friendly Chibs over in Aeon. I love that. I love the idea of being just like I think maybe for now under concept we can just record like Scion of House of Caesley and then build from there. Right? Does that sound fair?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Awesome. How about Bliss? What do you have in mind for your concept?
Um, I'm looking over all the houses now. I kind of like the idea of how do you pronounce it? Cesis? Cesis?
Cessus, yes, I
Yeah,
believe.
like a
I'm sure someone will correct us if we're
sneaky
wrong.
spy person,
I love it. Yeah,
part of the spy network.
perfect. So yeah, you can just kind of put keep a note that for now we'll say your concept is assess a spy. Excuse me. There, I'm failing to mute my cough, so I apologize. So we all have a basic idea of what we're looking at conceptually. The next that we'll need to make a note of is our exalt type. Obviously, for all of us, we can put dragon blooded. Easy peasy. Once we have selected our exalt type, we can then choose the aspect. So the dragon blooded have aspects based on their elements. Do you know which element you would prefer to be associated with bliss? Have you given any thought to that?
Nope.
Sure. If you need a moment to look those over, let me just find the page that they're on.
It's 49
Thank you
in
so much.
essence.
Yeah, if you look at page 49, it should give you a breakdown of what those aspects are and what their various subsystems do. The way it works in Exalted Essence is that each of your essence or each of your aspects has sort of a passive effect that is always on. And then as you use your powers, you build what's called anima. And as your anima reaches certain stages, it becomes considered active, which brings up a new power. and then iconic, which is when you're maxing out your anima, and that is another power that is brought to bear. So as you look through the various aspects, you can kind of get some feelings about who they are. You also It also tells like kind of how they gain, one of the means by which they gain milestones, which is equivalent to experience in this game, is also detailed right there in the essence breakdown. Thank you for the page number, Ryan. So if you need a moment with those, Bliss, feel free to take a look at those. Michael, did you have a aspect in mind?
I was thinking probably either water or wood, but I could go either way, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can keep that sort of in hanging in limbo for the moment until we build the next aspects of the character. That's fine. How about you, Ryan? Did you have an aspect in mind?
Air. Actually, I'm taking this because I'm a forever GM. Travis, you probably know the struggle. All those character concepts that never get used.
I do.
I'm taking this fully embracing this opportunity to use a character concept I've had for a long time, and air would work perfectly for it.
Glorious. Air? Sounds great. And then Bliss, had you come to a decision, or are you still fiddling about with them?
I think I'd like water.
Excellent. So just go ahead and write that down next to your the aspect on your sheet.
I could totally slot into wooden then, if that's the case. Even I was deciding, I was leaning on wood anyways, and
Yeah, as long as, and also I do want, as long as you're cool with that, I want you to be aware that there's absolutely no issue with two people being the same aspect. That's not a problem. But yeah, if you want to slot into wood, that's totally fine. Next, we come to the fun bits, where you will mark down on your sheet that your essence score is a 1. So just fill in the first dot there. And then we come to our attributes and abilities. The attributes there are only 3 of them in essence. These represent the way that your character tends to address most situations. So finesse is careful, it's considered, it's dexterity, it's intelligence, it's taking your time and doing things right and precise. Force is what it sounds like. You shove your way through problems, knock down barriers, power ahead. And fortitude, of course, is having the stamina, the resiliency, the ongoing resolve to pursue your goals. You get 4, 3, and 2 to divide between those. Ryan, how did you choose to break up your attributes?
I prioritized fortitude, and then and now I can't decide between finesse and force. You know what? Usually I play more finesse style characters, so I'll go with force as my secondary, and then finesse as my tertiary.
Excellent. Yeah, just get a little change in atmosphere. I like it. Michael, how about you?
finesse first, fortitude second, force third.
Beautiful. And Bliss, what did you settle on?
Did finesse first, force second, fortitude third.
Perfect. So yeah, just make sure you got your dots assigned there. Next, we come to our abilities. The abilities are going to determine a lot about your character. I would argue they might be the most important traits that your character possesses. These often tie into what charms you're going to be using, and they are the deciding factor when you go to make a roll. If you're going to get into a fist fight, your close combat is chosen first, and then you decide which attribute you're pairing it with based on the circumstances. Though generally speaking, you'll be able to pair it with your highest attribute. But however, if you're, trying to make your way through a town, your close combat's not going to matter. You're going to need to use, navigate to get around, right? So that's why the abilities kind of have the highest import. There are 14 on the sheet. You get 1 at 5, 1 at 4, 3 at 3, 2 at 2, and 1 at 1. And I'm going to paste that into the Zoom chat so you have an easy reference, because it's a lot of numbers I just read.
Thank you for caring.
I was about to write it down. I was so scared.
Yeah,
I was like, where's my pen?
It is also, for those of you following along at home, on page 97 of the Exalted Essence book, but you don't want to be bopping back and forth. If you can avoid it, let me do that for you. So just a couple of things. For example, if you're looking at focusing on spellcasting and sorcery, sagacity is going to be a big deal for you. If you're looking at commanding a bunch of troops, war is going to be important. Close and range combat, I think, are fairly self-explanatory. Integrity deals more with your own mental and spiritual fortitude. Embassy deals with matters of state and matters of diplomacy, which can come in pretty handy. Physique is the perfection of the body. Also helps with resisting physical damages. Kind of plays the same role physically that integrity does spiritually and socially. And presence is your ability to sort of just exert influence based on the raw strength of your personality. Craft is building things. Athletics is moving. Awareness is noticing stuff. Stealth is being sneaky. I think we've covered all of those skills. I did them out of order because, I'm a silly Billy. Has everyone assigned their abilities, or are we still working on those?
I'm good. I've gone way beyond my normal boundaries of characters.
Oh, please enlighten us. What do you got?
Well, obviously I prioritize sagacity because if I want to go into spellcasting, I need that. Also, if I need, that's probably going to be quite useful for building power as well.
Yes.
In combat. I went for some integrity, because if you're going to be summoning things best left unsummoned, you need strength of will. Presence, craft, and awareness at 3, just because they seem like useful hobby skills to have developed, and tying into the commanding things you should not command. Navigate and close combat, because the trope of a mage who can't defend themselves is kind of annoying sometimes.
Sure.
And I like the idea of having a solid backup option.
Yeah, this ain't a dungeon game. You
Exactly.
You can cast spells and punch.
And my one dot is embassy, because I realized that if you put the time and effort into studying how to cast magic, you probably have some basic understanding of bureaucratic structures and politics.
Sure, especially as the vast majority of sorcery in the realm learned by Dragonbloods is learned at a specific school. And they will likely not let you out the door without knowing a little bit of embassy, so that makes sense. Cool, rock and roll. Michael, have you settled on your ability breakdown?
Yeah, I have embassy at 5.
Excellent.
So I'm probably gonna look at doing different languages as well, just for flavor and everything. We'll see how that works. I put presence at 4, and then for my 3s, I have stealth, physique, and awareness.
Wonderful.
And then, very interestingly, I chose integrity to be at 2 instead. I was thinking of making it higher, but then I only kept it at 2 because I want the character to be like second generation or even third generation past, so they know of the kind of goals of the SLC, but then not necessarily adhere to them like a first generation would, if that's possible.
Sure, sure.
And in that case, the low integrity means that it's not necessarily that they can't tell lies from truth and stuff, but more so that they're more easily swayed from their core concepts.
Okay.
So they could potentially, switch sides, thinking that that's not a good idea. At least they're not completely bound to House SLC in that sense. So 2 in integrity, and then of course a little bit of range combat. So 2 in that, and close combat at 1.
Love it. Love it. Perfect. Bliss, have you settled on your breakdown yet?
Yeah, I've got 5 in stealth, 4 in ranged combat. My 3s are awareness, navigate, and presence. My 2s are athletics and sagacity, and my 1 is in embassy.
Beautiful. Perfect. I love these skill breakdowns. I will note, correct me if I'm wrong, I heard a distinct absence of war being in there. So among anybody. So just to be aware, and you're welcome to shift things around at a later time if you want to. In the event that you do want an army to command, war is going to be the trait you're going to need for that. So just a FYI.
I was thinking I might do that now because I think I'm going to join Tepet, and they obviously have some notoriety when it comes to that.
That is true. Yes.
So I'm going to move my 3 from presence into war, I think.
Oh, excellent. Beautiful. I also think it's wonderful that you've decided you're going to be House Tepet. That makes me happy in my heart. They're probably my favorite house. So by the rules of RPGs, that means I have to punish you horribly for choosing my favorite.
Absolutely. Bring it, Travis.
Excellent. So next up, this is the fun bit where you choose your charms. You will start the game with your choice of ox body technique or an excellency. There are some breakdowns if you want like a quick set of selections for charms that show up on page 110 of Essence. But if you want to get down into the nitty gritty of it, I can certainly break down kind of how these work, and we can get into some of the specifics. Now, sorcery, for example, is achieved through a collection of charms. Martial arts charms exist. If you're focusing on being a stealthy character, there are a lot of charms that go around that. Again, as Dragon Bloods, most of your charms are going to be associated with the skills. So when you get down into the actual charms chapter, it breaks down the charms. There are universal charms that any Exalt can take, and then there are specific Dragon Blood charms. And those are all broken down by skills, so you can look through there. So, let's see. Oh, hey Ryan, you've suddenly fallen out of focus for some strange reason.
Yeah, my webcam is. If I lean too far forwards, my webcam is like, "Hey, you want to be blurry now, right?" So I have to use the thumb technique to try and reset it, because the other option is to turn the camera off and back on again, which messes with the.
Has a shallow depth of field, as they say.
Yeah.
So just to give you a quick idea of that initial choice. Ox body technique for Dragon Bloods. When you take it, you gain 2 -1 health levels, and you increase your base soak by 1. If you wanted to go with an excellency instead, what excellencies do for dragon blooded. Let's see here. These you tie it to an ability. So you say, like, for example, I would like to have stealth excellency. And when you have that charm, you can spend a mote of your essence and add bonus dice equal to the ability's rating to any applicable roll involving the chosen ability. So, for example, again, Bliss, you mentioned you're playing a stealthy character. So if you took excellency and stealth, you could spend one mote of your essence, and you would roll double your stealth when you're making a stealth check for that round.
I'll do that. All right.
So that is an option. Does anyone have questions about the first two, about Oxbody or Excellencies?
I guess, Michael, do you want to take Oxbody or an Excellency? Because we should maybe have someone who can take a few punches.
I mean, again, yeah, you're tepid and you have war, so when we get some merits, you can buy punching bags to stand between you and the bad guy.
That is true. That is true. Also, if I'm going necromancy, I can just summon minions.
Right, yeah.
I think, well, because I do have the higher physique in that sense, I would probably take Oxbody.
All right.
I was thinking of that, so
yeah, just note that increases your soak by 2 and your -1 health levels by 2.
okay.
I'll go all in on sorcery then. This can't possibly go wrong.
Sure, dope. So you're looking like a excellency and sagacity?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness, that's gonna be bonkers. I love it. All right, so then obviously for your character, you're gonna want to select sorcery. So you're going to need, in that case, sorceress initiation. Which I do believe you'll find on page 211.
I think there's a necromancy version. I'm leaning more towards necromancy.
There is a necromantic initiation that is on page 210.
Fantastic. Dragon Blood may only learn first circle sorcery. A rare few may learn first circle necromancy instead, but never both. And if Doom has come to Tepet, so what better way to forge a new identity and reclaim that honor by delving fully into necromancy?
I love it, and I'm happy to allow it. And I think it's extra funny if you do take like an army merit, and then you're just like, you're not done. Get up.
Oh no.
You think you could sleep on my watch?
But again, though, you are only able to learn the first circle of necromancy, which is nothing to sneeze at, but just something to be aware of.
I did check. One of them is summon zombies. So
Nice.
well, animate corpses, essentially.
And then so you'll want to, I would assume, pick up some of your charms from the necromancy. And I believe you can also take universal spells, correct?
I will double check.
Yes.
There's
Yep.
there's a lot to scroll through.
That's on page 302. Universal spells. While some are unique to either sorcery or necromancy, most are shared between the two, albeit with varying aesthetics. So you can take any universal spell of the first circle or any necromancy spell of the first circle.
I mean, flesh sloughing wave.
Possibly my favorite spell in all of Exalted is Death of Obsidian Butterflies. I just think that shit's hilarious. Flesh sloughing wave is the necromancy version of it.
What a name.
Perfect. Beautiful. Yeah, the necromancer unleashes a wave of ivory light teeming with fanged ghostly creatures, ripping flesh from bone while leaving inorganic structures intact. This wave emanates from the necromancer in every direction up to medium range, adding the piercing tag to the attack and ignoring all cover, light or heavy. Nice. Good times. It's a
Yeah,
fun.
everyone's going to have fun there. It also adds counts as power instead of will if I wanted to for attack purposes. So that's good.
Yeah. Good times. So yeah, and then if you go past that, the actual necromancy spells start on page 307. And so beyond that initial charm choice that you had, the Oxbody or Excellency, you then gain 4 additional charms.
And these charms, as long as you have the prerequisite, could come from the dragon-blooded charms and the universal charms, correct?
Yes, you can take anything from dragon-blooded charms or universal charms. Your let's see. I just want to make sure I've got page numbers right for y'all so that you can find them as easy as possible. Your universal charms are going to start on page 185. I will throw that in the Zoom chat if I can spell universal properly. There we go. And your dragon blood charms
I love how there's a charm called the thoughtful gift technique. Like thoughtful gifting is an actual technique to learn.
Social combat is very prominent and exalted.
It
Yeah,
is,
I'm
yeah.
taking it.
Social
I'm
is
100% taking
a
it.
big deal. And then the DB charms start on page 231. And again, a lot of these are tied into your abilities. So look at what you prioritize for your abilities. Those, I would say, are probably the best place to start for your charm shopping if you don't want to just go with a package. So now I know that we are. Thanks for popping in, Chandra. It was awesome to see you, even if it was for a little while. And looking forward to your thoughts on the campaign. So yeah, I know that there's again a lot of charm options. Bliss, do you have any questions? Is there anything that you're stuck on about it, or are you just taking some time to browse?
I'm browsing. Can you explain the excellency again? Like, what do I put in the box
Sure. So
for
it's
it?
ability excellency is what you'll write down, and if you go on to your when I say ability, so like if you choose it for stealth, it would be stealth
Yeah.
excellency.
Okay.
And then when you go on your sheet, you'll notice that it has a spot in the charms list where you can put the page number of the charm, so it's easy for you to look up real quick. I highly recommend doing that. You can put down your moat cost, which should be listed. For mode, it's going to be dragon blooded. You can, if the charm lists a different name for the dragon blooded, you probably want to put that under the name instead of the actual name of the charm. But for mode, I would just put dragon blooded so you know. And then description, kind of sum up what it does in your own words as best as you can. If it's just too wordy for you, maybe under description just put go look at the page number. And reference back to it. I know there's not a lot of room to write down stuff there.
And specifically for the stealth excellency, where would I find a description on that, or what it is?
Yeah, so the excellencies are all listed on page 185 at the very beginning of the universal charms. It's the first universal charm that's listed.
Okay.
And like if you wanted to, for example, you get that choice of Oxbody or an Excellency plus 4 charms. There's no reason why those other 4 charms can't be more Excellencies or more Oxbody. Like if you just want to be a fucking tank, you could just take 5 Oxbodies and be like, it doesn't really matter that I'm not great at combat because you'll never knock me out. You know what I mean?
So, real quick question: how do we gain essence in this again?
How do you gain, how do you regain motes of
Or
essence,
no?
you mean? Or how does your essence
There.
increase?
Yeah. How does the essence increase?
Over time. It's basically, uh, you will, between each session, or at the end of each session, you will receive certain milestones. Those milestones will be able to be spent to purchase certain things. The actual essence increases are generally just left to like when the storyteller thinks it's a good time to increase your essence, because as your
Okay.
essence increases, then the world becomes more challenging for you effectively, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it also opens up like whole new levels of power for you. So we are going to start at essence one. Um, unless everybody's passionately wants to start higher, and my reasoning for that is simply that I don't want to overwhelm people. Like the statement in chat earlier was not hyperbole. This is rules light for Exalted, but it's a crunchy system. So I don't want to like overwhelm people with, oh, I've got 10 powers now and I don't know what any of them fucking do. You know what I mean? So that's kind of why I want to start at Essence 1, just to get that good base flavor understanding, make sure everybody uh, gets the rules and is having a good time and the engine is running smoothly. And then probably almost immediately, once I'm sure that everyone's confident with that, we'll bump up an essence level.
Okay. Sounds good. And then the other question I have is, what is this? So some of these things or some of these charms mention steps, like step 4 or step 5 and things like that. What does that mean?
Yeah, so combat is broken down into a series of steps, right? When you go into combat, it's not just like, here's your initiative, what do you do? There's step 1 where people are declaring their actions. I'll actually bring up the list so I can walk through them real quick. And full disclosure, I will have to bring this up and walk us through it. Uh, Probably every time we run combat for the foreseeable future, because again, it's not simple. Um,
It makes sense, but it's a whole process.
yeah, it's not like it's difficult to follow, but it's difficult to rattle off the top of your head. I'll put it that way.
Well, the reason why I asked, because I thought it was combat specifically, but there is one that I'm looking at called listener swaying argument, and it told me that I had to spend a mode on step 4 to reduce the cost of purchasing, and I
Yes,
was like,
because
is that part of a?
social
Oh, I
combat
see.
exists.
I
Yeah,
see. I see. Okay,
the
that makes
same the
sense.
same things apply. So to give you just a quick breakdown, step 1 is when you declare your action. Uh, Step 2 is you declare a defensive action. Step 3, determine your attack pool and roll dice. Step 4, apply defense. Step 5, determine damage pool. Step 6, roll damage. Step 7, apply soak. Step 8, counterattack if applicable. And that applies in physical combat, that applies in social combat.
Sounds good. Okay,
So,
that makes a lot more sense.
yeah, and because things can get very granular, charms do activate. Some charms activate on a specific step, which can affect how other charms interact with it, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Ryan, how's the choice going along? Are you steering full into sorcery, or are you grabbing some war charms too?
Yeah, I'm currently debating whether or not to grab. There's a charm that will help with routed battle groups for my
Mm.
undead army, but I'm trying to check the full rules on that. And it's a 400-page rule book.
Oh, you're looking for the battle groups specifically?
Yeah, there's a tag that I need to know how it works before I can make a proper decision.
Sure.
I'm
Battle
also grabbing a sagacity charm just to help out with the healing side of things.
Not a bad idea. The battle group information is starts on page 322.
Much obliged, thank you.
No problem. Route checks are
before-
described on the following page, by the way. But go ahead.
Before we start in a couple of weeks, I will take care of as much of the battle group stuff as I can.
Yeah, I mean that's fine.
I like a template I can just use.
Yeah, I mean time permitting, we can build your battle group.
Okay, I don't need to worry about that because they're mindless undead. They just take extra damage. They don't flee.
Okay, so you are going to. Is that a battle group that you're generating from a charm, or is that a battle group you're planning on buying as merit?
It's the Raise the Skeleton Horde necromantic spell.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
They're mindless undead, so they don't flee from railroad route checks. They just immediately suffer additional damage equal to unmet difficulty.
Gotcha.
So I might put that final charm somewhere else.
Gotcha. Okay. Bliss, any questions? Anything that you're running into speed bump wise?
No, I'm still looking around.
Sure. Michael, any further questions about charms?
I think I'm good. I just need to double check on some stuff, and I might have to alter the concept a little bit, but I think is perfectly fine. It's very tiny bit, just swapping around something so that we can get some close combat in there to match with the physique. So
Okay.
at least there's someone that's kind of like out in front taking hits, if anything. So besides that, I think the ideas, the concept, and everything is still the same.
Cool. I like it. And there is also like an entire, if anyone, speaking of getting directly in people's faces, there is an entire series of martial arts charms as well, if that's the kind of thing that you want to get into. But if not, that's totally fine too. Once we have those all knocked out, and again, during this character creation process, as we're opening into new avenues and stuff, if you want to go back and switch something up, that's fine. If you're like, once we get into merits, if you're like, oh, this would be really cool with this other charm, you can switch it over. That's not a problem. That's why we're doing the session 0, to build things that we want to ultimately have what we want.
Got my 4, I believe.
Excellent. What did you settle on charms wise?
So necromantic initiation, which gives me a free first circle spell of Raise the Skeleton Horde. Hound of the Five Winds, because I was reading it and then I noticed the necromantic mode is a bone lion. I can't use it as a mount, but it's a bone lion.
Sure.
And that was all the information I needed.
Right.
The dragon-blooded specific war charm storm-calling strategies. I'm double checking I meet the prerequisite for that. I do. Which is for the low price of 1 committed mote. Enemy battle groups suffer a 3 dice environmental penalty on all physical actions taken in combat.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Which, like, I've got a skeleton horde, they're not going to be great, but you are also not great now. And then will bolstering method, which allows me to transfer my will as power, I believe, to help support my allies, or to the other way around. When they give me power, I can take it as will for spellcasting purposes.
Love it.
I believe. That one I might change before we play. There was another Sagacity one, which was you can treat this as a recovery scene and heal instantly. So I will probably go back and forth a bit on that.
That is pretty nifty. And then, of course, you had this Sagacity Excellency, right? Was the other?
Yes, that was my excellency.
Rock and roll.
I have another quick question.
Sure,
actually.
fire away.
What does complementary ability total mean
Complementary ability total.
as a prerequisite?
That is a wonderful question. What page are you on right now?
Any of the martial arts ones.
Oh, okay.
Charms.
Let's see.
It says
Oh,
that
go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say it says in the style itself it gives you a list of abilities.
Right. So when you go up to
Oh, okay, I see.
the actual style, then all the charms underneath that style, it's referring back to the list that's at the beginning of the style.
Okay, I see. So that means it's like a combination of whatever that style says on the complementary abilities.
Yeah. So if
Okay.
it's like, um, yeah. So like with Fluttering Cry of Warning, for example, under the Crane style, you have to have both a close combat of 2 and a total of 3 out among the complementary abilities.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
I
None of
see.
which are close combat, right? So.
Ooh, okay.
Bliss, any questions or speed bumps?
Nope. I just need one more
Okay.
deciding.
All right. While you're shopping, I will bump Ryan ahead to merits, and then we'll circle back around and start adding in merits for everybody else once they're wrapped up with charms. So you have the ability to select one. Well, actually, as a group, we can choose which setup we want to go with. My preference is one primary, one secondary, one tertiary. But if you would prefer, we can do 2 secondaries and 1 tertiary, or 2 secondaries and 2 tertiaries. And what that basically means is primary is the strongest level of merit you can get. Secondary is middle. Tertiary is low level. So the third option would mean you'd have slightly more weaker powers. The second option, to me, seems like you have the weakest combination of power. And the first one means you'll have one sort of big merit and then the rest a bit lesser. Do any of you have any preference about that, or are we good with going just primary, secondary, tertiary with it?
I think we can do that.
Yeah, I'm good. Primary, secondary, tertiary.
All right. Bliss, does that work for you?
Yeah.
All right, rock and roll. So in that case, then, as soon as you're wrapped up on your charms, you can head in and start looking at those merits. A couple things to note about them is if a merit can assist with a non-combat roll, you add 2 dice for a tertiary, 3 dice for a secondary, and 4 dice for a primary, which do not count towards your dice limit. And merits have sanctity of merits. They can't just be taken away. They might be temporarily taken away, temporarily removed from your presence. They might even be changed. You might have an artifact get destroyed, then you wind up with a new artifact by the end of the session. But ultimately, you will retain those merits. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then the actual merits for selection begin on page 101, and they will say the name of the merit. And they will say if there is it'll say any, if they can be at any size, or it will say like cannot be tertiary, cannot be primary, if there's restrictions. And then if you look down through the text of the merit, it will tell you what they grant at each level. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sounds good.
And if you were looking specifically at having like a group that you can command, let's see. Command is the actual merit. I don't know why that was so hard for me to find. But command grants you a battle group.
Are we going to be considered hearthmates for this?
That's a wonderful question. I guess that's kind of up to you if you want to start out at that level of bond or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm good to work up to it. I just wondered because obviously Dragonblood, some of the stuff keys off of being hearthmates with.
Sure. And yeah, I there was one of the things that I do want to, once we actually have the characters worked out, one of the things that I would wanted to touch base on is, do we start out as, a sworn circle effectively already, or is that something that you want to build toward that relation? Do you want to start it out with like, we kind of know each other and we're going off on this thing? Or do you want to start out with like, we have sworn our loyalty to one another and we're going to go handle this business, and then come what may, we'll deal with the aftermath. So that's kind of up to y'all. I'm good with it either way. I am certainly fine with skipping the origin story of how you all decided you liked each other. I've run enough games. I liken it to Thomas and Martha Wayne. I never need to see them get shot again. I know.
That's fair.
It's really a matter of if it makes your role play easier to build those bonds, or if you're cool with just walking on screen being like, no, we've sworn our loyalty. Doesn't necessarily mean you even like one another, but if you've sworn that bond of loyalty to one another, then it keys off the charms for one thing, but also that persists generally beyond the immediate task. Excuse me.
I have a question about a merit.
Sure, ask away.
So, if you have a primary artifact merit, it says it grants a world-shaking wonder. If you go into the lists of artifacts, there really isn't a list there. And are we supposed to build one?
Yes, so we can construct those.
Okay.
You can use an existing artifact as a skeleton for that, if that makes sense.
There is also there is a list. It's just not obviously a list. It's the same style of list as the merits and the charms. Because I was looking at an artifact as well, and I realized that like the lesser artifacts are just tertiary artifacts, and they're all clumped together. And it's a list with there's no summary of the list. Like in, I guess, the Dragon game, where you've got a table with the name of the thing. So it that's what it means by list, I think.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, there are absolutely existing artifacts. They start on page.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
47.
what I'm saying though is that we can use these as a framework to build our own, or we can just build our own. Because if I'm not mistaken, when you get into that merit specifically, it tells you it can grant evocations, which you can take as a starting charm. Artifacts have their own bonus. So if you're going primary artifact, depending on what kind you make it, like if you make it a weapon or an armor, those have specific rules for what they do at different levels of artifact. And then you can also add a charm to it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Did you have a specific sort of thing in mind that you wanted to use as an artifact? Like, did you want?
No, I was just looking at the options in that sense, and there may or may not be some things that I have to kind of move around for it, but then that's kind of the where I am at right now.
Gotcha. How about Ryan? How are your merits coming along?
Yeah, so I went with command as my primary, so I have a decent cadre of cannon fodder.
Yeah, that is not small amount.
Familiar can't be primary, which is the only reason command is my primary. So I went with a secondary familiar instead, and then a lesser wonder artifact. I've currently got a translation crystal because there's a reason that scholar of forbidden magic, or not forbidden magics, it's been taught, but scholar of darker magics, let's say, probably doesn't know all the languages they're written in. But I might swap that for the collar of Dawn's cleansing light because blood you cannot get out of silks.
I suppose that's fair. Yeah, that's those are both good options. Bliss, were you still shopping through charms, or are you working on merits now?
I'm working on my merits now. I think I'm gonna go with an ally for my primary, like a powerful like member of the thieves or the stealthy guy spy network.
Okay, excellent. I like it.
I'm
Travis.
also good to go.
Yes.
sorry.
Once I've written up my familiar and also the battle group and stuff, do you want me to send them to you so you can look over them so you're all aware
Yeah,
of?
that'd be fine to have those handy. As far as if you're gonna go like primary allies, Bliss, that you're gonna have like one of the leaders of the house as your ally.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is totally fine workable. Glorious. And what charms did you wind up settling on, Bliss?
I've got the Arbor Sentinel technique, which makes a big old tree of arrows that serves as heavy cover and unlimited arrows. The revolving bow. I don't remember if I typed that wrong. That just gives me a second ranged attack. And for stealthy stuff, I have a drop amongst the ocean, which makes me disappear in a crowd, and perfect shadow stillness, which, I don't move and no one can see me.
Nice. Yeah, it's revolving bow discipline. And Michael, what did you settle on for your charms, by the way?
I chose. Let me pull that up real quick. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Let's see. Why is it not pulling up? I'm choosing to have the ox body technique, of course, and then the elemental protection technique from the dragons. I have the dragonborn or dragon blood thing, and then I also have. Sorry, I need to pull it up. Where is it? I really liked the idea of the thoughtful gift technique, so we're taking that as well.
Okay.
And then harmonious presence meditation. And then I am still settling on a martial arts. One final thing for martial arts, but right now it is stuck on Blossom of Inevitable Demise because that sounds ridiculous.
It does sound ridiculous, and I love it.
But yeah, that's what I look at right now.
Cool.
And also for my merits, I chose to have my artifact as primary, influence as secondary, and contacts as tertiary. So I might need to message you on how we want to build the artifact. If it proves to be a little bit too confusing, I might just swap influence and artifact
Okay.
around.
I mean, and again, we had a little time here. One of the things I wanted to make sure we can do is as much of this as we can build out for session 0. Let's get it built out. Obviously, I want to go get the characters done first, but if we have time, we can certainly circle back and build, battle groups and familiars and artifacts and things like that. Because I do want to make sure that we all know what we're getting into, and B, that the audience can sort of witness the process of those constructions if we can, in fact, swing that. So if you kind of, in the back of your mind want to work out like kind of what you'd like it to be able to do, that would be awesome. And then forgive me, Ryan, what had you gone with for merits? I know you had the battle group, the familiar, and what was the third one? The artifact.
Yeah, the artifact translation crystal.
Right. Sorry. And then Bliss, had you settled on your other 2 merits yet?
Yeah, I think for my secondary, I want a jaguar familiar.
Okay. Excellent.
And I think for my tertiary, I want the backing probably of, the spy network.
Oh, beautiful. I love it. That all works out gloriously. All right. So, and then one last time, Michael, what did you land it on with merits?
Artifact, influence, and contacts. Primary,
Excellent.
secondary, tertiary.
And for your influence, is that going to be in the region that, the Western realm, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
So though I don't mean to piggyback off of anybody that way, but I figured even though they are from the house Excelsi, that doesn't exist anymore. So I think I would just be someone of renown within Cessus, if that is okay. Just kind of like being in that area, like kind of like the the worst enemy of Excelsi in that sense. But then I'm kind of like stuck in there in the middle of everything, but
Sure.
is still well known that way.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I dig it. Now, and this is a question that we'll be able to sort of work through as well as we're working out our group backstory, but whether or not Bliss's character is aware, or any of the other characters are aware of your true heritage, is also something that we can work through.
Okay. Yep.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so let's move on to our next step then. Since everybody has their merits sorted out, we'll go back through and do builds on them, time permitting, which we should have enough time to do. The next step is our virtues and our intimacies. So there are 7 virtues, which you must choose one of them to be your major and another to be your minor. The virtues are listed. I'm going to pop them in the Zoom chat, but I'll read off the list as well. We have ambition, compassion, courage, discipline, justice, loyalty, and wonder. Now, those are explained starting on page 128, what specifically they do. But another thing to just keep in mind is if you choose ambition, you have to have a specific thing that drives your character. such as ambition, you know, see to it my house takes over the Empress's seat, or you know, drive the guild from Nexus, or rule over the South. And if you choose loyalty, you have to choose a leader or institution to which you are loyal, such as an individual or a house or something along those lines.
Okay. Just to make sure, it does say that there's a small section that talks about changing virtues that could happen within the game, correct?
Yes, it is possible.
Okay.
It's possible both through um, actions within the game. You might decide that it's just time to change it. And I think there are also some charms that can actually effectively shift someone else's virtues.
Hmm.
Any thoughts on which directions you might want to go, Ryan?
I have gone with major virtue of wonder, minor virtue of compassion.
Excellent. Bliss?
I'm doing a major virtue of loyalty, and that would be to, the house, Cessus,
Excellent.
and my ally dude. And minor is discipline.
Beautiful. And then how about for Michael?
I have ambition as major and loyalty as minor.
And what is your ambition and who is your loyalty to?
Loyalty is actually to the just the friends and compatriots that I work with.
Okay, to the
And
circle.
exactly. And then ambition is still for the house. And kind of like the house of Celsi. And it's
To achieve what?
being to achieve its kind of like reformation and glory
Okay,
and past glories in that sense.
gotcha. Okay, cool. Um, and then next you need to choose a major and a minor intimacy. These do not have a pre-written list. A major intimacy is a greatly influences what your character does and how they behave, whereas a minor intimacy is not a defining factor in your decision making, but it does perhaps influence your base sort of operating procedures, one might say. All intimacies must be influenced by one of your virtues, though either virtue can be tied to any intimacy. So, you can have your minor intimacy tied to your major virtue and vice versa if you wanted to. That's fine. Intimacies are I sentences. They are beliefs. If you are extreme in it, so the example it gives in the book is I never kill would be a major intimacy, whereas I try not to kill would be a minor intimacy. These can also be tied into your relationships, right? So could be you could have an intimacy that says, I refuse to disappoint my ally. I will obey my house. Things along those lines could be intimacies as well, right? So, any ideas for intimacies? Let's go the other direction, Bliss.
My major is probably that I will something about loyalty to my ally guy or the house. I
Okay.
think that person is probably like my mentor of such. So
All right, excellent. And how about for a minor?
um probably something about the spy network, like never give away the information or like never.
Try to protect the identity of your spies, maybe.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. That sounds like a solid set of intimacies. How about Michael? Any idea for your intimacies?
Real quick question. The book says one major and two minor, or are we doing one and one, or
Is it
one and
one major
two?
two? Let's see.
Page 104.
Yep. So yeah, I guess I'm sorry. One major, two minor.
Okay. Let me write one.
So if you want to grab a secondary minor list.
Mhm.
Mm.
Any thoughts on what that might be?
Mm,
And again, just a reminder too, we are starting off like you're actively going to be part of a wild hunt at the beginning, so you can tie an intimacy into that if you want. Something along the lines of hunt down the anathema where I can find them, or protect people from the anathema. Those can be minor intimacies, pretty easy as well. You also can leave any of them undefined and pick them during play. Any thoughts on your intimacies, Ryan?
Yes, I've got in like the form of a nice statement. I will always strive to learn new skills as my major intimacy, tied it to my wonder virtue.
Okay.
And then my minors are I will always try to defend my siblings. That's a compassion one. And then I noticed that it doesn't have to be a positive relationship.
No, it doesn't.
So it's I will never return to, and then I'll think of the name of a place that, as far as my character is concerned, they've learned everything they possibly can from that place.
Is it the hepatogram?
Maybe. But
I'm never
thought it might
going.
be interesting.
I'm not going to a class reunion. Fuck that place.
Or it could just it could be somewhere in the West, hypothetically speaking.
That's true too.
Throw you a bone. Force me to go back somewhere I swore I'd never go back to.
Right. That sounds like a solid set. Michael, how about for you?
So my major intimacy is I will always repay debts that's tied to loyalty. So
Okay.
only just loyalty to the people that I make relationships with, essentially. And then both my minor ones will be tied to my ambition, where the first one is I must not let my lineage be known. So there we kind of have the answer of whether or not the other players know
Sure.
my lineage. And the other one is I will seek revenge for my house.
Beautiful. I love it. Blitz, did you settle on a second minor intimacy?
yeah, I think I'm gonna just tie this one to my minor virtue of discipline and say I try to think through all my options before acting.
Beautiful. All right. That sounds like a glorious collection of intimacies, and good enough for us to pop forward to our finishing touches section of character creation. In this area, we will mark down that we have 1 dot of essence, 5 motes. So you can mark those down. You will start out with 7 health levels, and then modified by your ox body technique if you took it. So if you did not take ox body, you have what I just put in the Zoom chat, which is 2 zeros, 2 -1s, 2 -2s, and an incapacitated. If you do have Ox Body, you gain 2 -1s for each level of Ox Body you have, and your soak is increased by 1. So for the moment, I would put just a +1 next to soak for tracking purposes. What I tend to do is I will fill out all of the boxes that represent health levels I don't have. Is usually how I handle it on my sheet, but mileage may vary. You might want to also keep a note written down somewhere of what they are so that when you heal up, you can heal back to your actual starting health levels. Any questions about health from anyone?
Can you explain that again? Sorry, I missed all of it.
Sure.
Not all of it, but I got a little confused.
No problem. So if you look at your health levels on your sheet, you'll see that you have 0 bruised and a whole bunch of boxes, then -1 injured, a whole bunch of boxes, so on and so forth. If you did not take Ox Body, you just use what I put in the Zoom chat. So the 2-0, 2 -1, 2 -2, and incapacitated. Everything else, black out. If you have Ox Body, you gain those additional ones as listed under Ox Body technique. I think only one of you
Yeah.
took Ox Body though, right?
Yeah, I think I did.
Yep. So then basically what I would do is go to the far end of the line and I would block out all of the health levels that I don't have. All right, so everything but the 2 that are nearest to the word for bruised, injured, and critical. Make sense?
Yep.
Rock and roll. All right. Then our next step is to figure out our derived values. You should have a defense score. That will be your choice of parry, which is your attribute you choose, plus close combat divided by 2, rounded up, or evasion, which would be attribute plus athletics divided by 2, rounded up. Whichever one of those is higher would be your defense. And then you can add in any charm effects if you have any that might increase your defense.
So the attribute would be the one, any one that you choose.
The one that
correct?
you choose, yep.
Okay.
Can you put that in the chat?
Yes,
I'm a
absolutely.
visual learner.
And it is the math,
Yeah.
and we do not like the math. So what'd you end up with for defense so far, Ryan?
Assuming I've calculated everything correctly, my parry is 2.
Rock and roll. Stand in the back.
Yep.
Michael, how about you?
My parry is 4, so I think I'm stuck in the front.
Yeah, I think so. Still working on yours, Bliss?
Yeah.
That's all right. We'll circle back. If you have no armor, which at the moment I don't think any of you do, your soak is 1. If you have physique of 3 or higher, you get an additional 1. If you have Ox Body, that also increases your soak by 1. So I believe that gives us Michael at a 3 and Ryan Bliss probably both are at a soak of 1, I would assume, right?
I have no armor, so it'd be at 2. But
You also have Ox Body.
Ox Body and then
Physique 3.
right?
And then everybody starts with 1.
Oh, so then yeah, then I'll have 3.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely stuck in the front for sure now.
I had done the maths wrong. It's 3. It's not 2. It's 3.
Oh, well, that's good.
Huge difference.
That's,
It's
it's a little better. You
a
can
50% increase.
you can for your hardness value is 2 plus your essence rating. So you'll all start with a 3, and then if you get any armor, we'll add that bonus in. Bliss, did you get your defense sorted out?
Yeah, it is 3.
Excellent. And I couldn't remember, did you have a physique of 3 or no?
No.
Okay. So then, yeah, your soak would be 1 at the moment. All right. Make sure I have the right thing up. There we go. You got your hardness of 3, and then your resolve is 2. However, if you have an integrity of 1 or 2, your resolve increases to a 3. If your integrity is 3 or higher, your resolve increases to a 4. And then in the event that your intimacies come into play in a roll, that will adjust your resolve accordingly. So something that would make you violate your intimacies, you get a bonus to resolve to resist. Whereas if somebody's trying to talk you into do some shit that already like fits your intimacies, you get a resolve penalty based on the strength of the intimacy. You know, it was like, your house would want you to do that. You're like, oh fuck, okay. Basically. So yeah, there we have it. Just want to check and see if there's any other finishing touches we need to work on. The derived values are all there. So now we get to go into the fun bit. You can have any mundane equipment that fits your concept and background, regardless of your resources. You are Dragon Bloods. The realm provides. So we can go through and pick out some mundane gear. Those of you who have artifacts, we will design those because we've still got some time. We are only about an hour and 39 minutes in on the stream right now. So I guess here's what I would like to do if everyone is cool with it. Let's go ahead and take 5 for our biological and technological needs. When we return, we'll go shopping for mundane equipment, and we will handle any backgrounds that need built. Sound solid, everybody? Wonderful. Thank you all so much, players, for being here, and everybody in the audience for checking it out. I do want to remind you, while we are on break, if you've not yet picked up Exalted Essence, it is available in PDF and POD over at Drive-Thru RPG. You could spend the break time going and grabbing that. You could also spend the break time, if you're really like me and like what I do, you could spend the break time heading over to the Bizarre Kingdoms Kickstarter and helping me make it happen for that particular book. I'm going to throw that link in the chat too. As you know, if you've been here before, I can't talk and type at the same time. So we will be back momentarily. If you're watching this live, go hit those links I threw in the chat. If you're watching this in a VOD, just fast forward to see our pretty faces again. We'll see you real soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Onyx Path Twitch. If you're just now joining us, we are in the process of making our characters for Exalted Essence. We have finished sort of the base character creation and are now getting ready to hop into the acquisition of equipment and the building out of merits. So, in terms of just regular old gear, your basic equipment options start on page 341. You can build custom weapons, or you can select some of the pre-built weapons and armor. That is also the case. So those are all available to you. You can pretty much have anything that's in there going up to the actual everyday wonders. That's where things start actually costing you money specifically. Does anybody have any thoughts on like what kind of weapons and or armor they would like to use?
I would like a bow.
Excellent. If you want sort of just a basic crossbow or longbow,
Yep.
that is actually detailed on page 343. So you have the balanced tag. You probably don't need the mounted tag. You can then treat that as a medium ranged weapon. And so when you look at the weapons entry on your character sheet, you can write bow. You can call it a longbow, you can call it a short bow, you can make it a specific type of bow that you want. But ultimately you'll write down bow and then in parentheses medium ranged. Your accuracy on that weapon is going to be a +1. Your damage a +1. Defense +1. And overwhelming 1.
All right.
Any type of additional armor you might want, like something for up close?
Yeah. Probably like some basic, leather armor or something.
All right. So if you want to do just sort of like a standard light armor, that you'll write that down under armor, just light armor leather, and your soak it gets a +1. You have a mobility penalty of 0, and your hardness is 0. And then, did you want any hand-to-hand weapons? For close
Yeah,
combat?
have like a dagger.
All right. So you can put down under your other weapon slot, put down knife would be light. The tags are thrown, concealable, and paired. So I'll paste those in the chat for you. And then the light weapon has an accuracy of +2, a damage of +0, defense of +1, and overwhelming of 1. Any mundane items that you're purchasing, Michael?
I will purchase the heavy armor.
Excellent. So that heavy armor gives you a +2 soak, a -1 mobility penalty, and a hardness of 0.
Yeah. Okay. And then the weapon, I will probably move into the artifact realm.
Excellent.
So,
So we'll get into building that momentarily.
Yeah.
How about for Ryan? Anything that you would like to purchase?
Yeah, I'm going to grab some light armor because it seems like it makes the most sense.
Excellent.
And then I know that like a ritual knife or a staff would be the most stereotypical, but I really like the idea of a spiked fighting chain,
Nice. Yeah, do it.
and also thematically playing into like you're dead. No, you're not. Now you're my servant.
Wonderful. So just looking to see where if
It's
there's
a medium close combat weapon.
beautiful, and you got the tags and whatnot from that.
Yeah, flexible and pulling. So I can use it at range if I need to, but I don't have any dots in physique, so I probably won't.
Okay. Excellent. Any other secondary weapon? I think a fire wand would be hilarious, by the way. Just saying.
It's tempting. It is quite tempting.
For those that don't know, fire wand means gun, by the way.
A rifle-shaped flamethrower.
I mean, and that's one way to you catch them with the fighting chain to hold them in place, and then just
Necromancy don't work. I cast gun.
It's a potent spell.
Yeah.
It is handy. So those options are there. Yeah, it's you've got the numbers and the modifiers and everything, Ryan, off the page.
Yep.
Rock and
Yep.
roll.
I'm really tempted to do that now, just so you are aware.
You're welcome to if you want to. No objections from me.
I have permission. I'm absolutely having a rifle flamethrower.
Very very good.
No points in range combat, but it's a viable backup.
It's handy, in case you get hemmed up, you get in the you're up close. So wonders, artifacts. Who all has the artifact background at this point, or the artifact merit at this point?
I have it at tertiary.
All right.
And I have it at primary.
Okay. So with a tertiary artifact, let's get that out of the way first. You could pick up any of the lesser wonders. You could pick up, I would let you pick up any of the everyday wonders if you wanted to as a result, or we can build something that is of an equivalent power level. Was there a particular thing that you had in mind?
As I say, I'm from the pre-built stuff, because a couple of them do just mesh with my character concept.
Sure.
There's the Collar of Dawn's Cleansing Light, which is just, you're always perfectly clean. There's also a bonus for poison and disease resistance and social interactions. Or the Translation Crystal, so you just put it over any text, including ciphers, and you can read it. But it translates into a language of Old Realm, but then you can commit a mote to read it in your native language instead. I thought both of those fit fine with the concept.
Yeah. Do you have a particular preference? Considering that you're about to be going into, you're about to be going on a wild hunt.
I guess the Translation Crystal, because if there's written resources that we're using to track down anathema or any other threat, we can guarantee to be able to read them.
All right, cool. Go ahead and mark that down as your artifact. Now for your for our primary artifact, what kind of weapon would you like to lean on, I guess? Like, do you prefer a ranged weapon? Do you prefer close combat?
So I think we're going to lean into the whole I'm standing in the front thing. So I would like a big fucking sword.
Big fucking sword is easy to do in Exalted.
Yeah, we'll just do that.
common.
We'll just do that. And also just for a point, I also realized what what the original martial art that I chose was actually for a fire wand. So instead of that, we're going to go with the White Reaper style, the White Reaper form, where I just get to cleave a bunch of people in twain, and I will use that with the great sword that we're about to create.
Excellent. Perfect. And what was your aspect again?
I am the aspect of.
You went
Wasn't it wood?
wood,
The
right?
It was
healers?
wood. It was the wood, yes.
Um,
No.
so there are a couple of lovely example diaclaves in here.
Hmm.
And we can tweak them a little bit to resonate better with your aspect if you want, or you can just take them as they're written. But on page 349, you have the Shining Ice Mirror as a minimalist blade, the color of primordial elemental ice. Diaclave was recently unearthed for a first age tomb beneath a glacier.
Hmm.
It's got a Hearthstone slot in it should you need it. When it's used in a stunted defense against social influence meant to threaten, intimidate, or overawe the wielder, you increase your resolve by 2. And it lets you spend a mote to supplement a decisive attack taken up to short range. Enemies damaged by the wielder's attack also suffer a 1 success penalty to athletics rolls and reduce defense by 1 till the end of the next turn. Effectively, what that means is that you're slowing people down when you're hitting them.
Hmm.
We could easily reskin that as like, instead of it being ice, like you hit them and like vines emanate from the wound that slow them down.
I think that's a. Is that a secondary artifact though? Because that one doesn't have a primary in the parentheses on the side of it.
I thought that all of them, once we get past these, are in the Greater Wonders section. So
Yeah, and it says they are always
oh, sure, sure.
secondary or primary, and then it says the artifacts in the second section are taken as secondary artifacts merits unless otherwise noted.
Yeah, I mean we can pump that up if you want to take it as your primary. So effectively increase the numeric effects
Hmm.
to push it up into primary territory.
Could I
You could,
actually instead use like a wood version of the volcano cutter and the like if
yeah,
like
any of
for
these we
example
can,
like
yeah, any of these we can tweak out
okay
that way. But what did you have in
so
mind for the volcano cutter?
so we'll just use that like basically flavor it so that instead of like an eruption of fire it's just basically wooden spikes and everything that kind of shoots out or like it could even be like a poisonous gas if anything
Oh, sure, yeah.
and we'll just keep with we'll make a different name for it I guess I'll come up with a different name because woodcutter does not sound like a very primary artifact.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it
I
like,
mean, you say that, but the what is it? The grass cutting blade in
Yeah, that
Japanese
is
myth?
true. Yeah, that is true.
yeah, yeah, you could call it the tree trimmer.
The tree trimmer, yep. Weed whacker, 5,000. Why 5,000? I don't know.
That's how many
So,
spikes fly out of it when I hit the ground with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can certainly just take volcano cutter, reskin it into, you know, like a bark handled,
Yeah, yeah,
spike
yeah.
throwing weapon. Yeah, all that stuff seems totally fine. Uh,
Okay.
and you,
Sounds good.
all of the, yeah, all of the evocations will just reskin as being, splinters and shards of wood and things along those lines that cause the.
Yeah.
All right, rock and roll. So that takes care of all the artifacts. We had a couple of people with familiar, correct? And at what level did you take familiar?
Mine is secondary.
mine is also secondary.
Glorious. So effectively, you have the template that is laid out at the top of the familiar. So you want to make note of those skills. You also note that since they're secondary, you can increase all of your dice pools by 1. That does not increase your defense, resolve, hardness, or soak, though I don't believe. It just increases the primary pool, secondary pool, tertiary pool. You also may choose the blessed creature, magical, or strange beast quality. And those are listed on page 324. Blessed creature means that your animal has the favor of a god. You can choose one of its patron's charms, and the animal may use that charm reflexively. If anyone harms the creature, patron takes notice, and it may express their displeasure or visit a curse upon the culprit. Magical means that the creature gains its own mote pool and may spend motes to activate magical abilities. They may be offensive actions like creating a shockwave with a stomp, or defensive ones such as strengthening a beast's hide to increase its soak. Or you can take Strange Beast. This is an animal out of legend with abilities beyond what its mundane brethren can perform. The animal gains an essence rating from 1 to 5 and gains 2 to 3 charms or special abilities reflecting its nature. Which of those tags would you like to put on yours, Bliss? And what kind of animal were you looking at having?
I want a black jaguar because
Okay.
it is good at hiding and it can also swim, so it goes with the water thing. I'm just gonna write down its stat blocks because I'm not sure where else to put it.
Sure.
But I don't know yet on what type is when it comes to that stuff.
Okay. You're not sure yet if you want it to be blessed, magical, or strange?
Yeah, let me look at that in a second.
Sure. And that's on 324. I'll toss that in the chat.
Okay.
How about you, Ryan?
Oh, I'm absolutely thinking this is a strange beast. It's the first creation of my necromantic magic, and that's why it has a special place in my heart.
Excellent. So it is a dead thing. What kind of creature is it?
Well, I've already got a lion, so probably not that. My big dilemma right now is you can use your familiar as a mount, and I don't know if I want a mount or not. Although Tepet kind of has that martial tradition, I guess, and if I'm an exalt, I'm more automatically an officer. So maybe something I can ride. Probably not a horse. Maybe like a bone bear of some kind.
A bear, a skeletal bear.
Yeah, maybe.
I love it. And why don't we give it? Let's give it an essence rating of 2. And let's give it 2 charms. It should have 7 motes. And I'll let you select its charms out of the liminal exalted charms, if that works for you.
That works fine. Thank you very much.
And those begin on page 252. If you have any questions about prerequisites, it looks like so far they're all essence based in there. So there's some that are skill based as well. So yeah, if you have any questions about whether or not it meets a prerequisite, just let me know. But feel free to shop that for your charms. Bliss, had you made a decision about your what you prefer your familiar to be?
Yeah, I'll have it be a blessed creature.
Excellent. So it is the favorite of a god. Is there a particular type of god that you would like it to be favored of? Just um, as a note, in the world of Exalted, it is an animistic world. There are gods for everything, and according to the beliefs of the Immaculate Order and the beliefs of the realm, gods are subservient to the dragon blooded. So, like, as far as you're concerned, the gods work for you.
I think it should be like a god of like shadow,
Beautiful.
darkness.
I love it. A god of shadows. Um, cool. So in that case, uh, let's give it. Let's see. Yes, it'll have the ability to use a charm reflexively. Let's look for some cool shadow charms. I'm just popping through. Ooh, how about this? Um, on page 286, there's a cool martial arts charm called Ebon Shadow Form that might be neat.
Oh.
Basically, it would let them calculate their evasion using stealth instead of athletics, or alternatively, they can add. Well, it doesn't have an essence score, but they can. I would say they'd be able to add their. Alternatively, they'd be able to add their desperation pool, their third pool, a tertiary pool, to their soak. That would be an option. Um, let's see. There's a cool one called Shroud of Night's Law on page 277. This one would let, basically for the scene, only people capable of noticing the animal's actions would be those directly affected by them, which
That'd be
they can
cool.
still try to
Yeah.
hide from. That one's there. Uh, and again, I'm just, digging through kind of some cool shadow ones. Um, Shadow Talent Execution on page 262. That one basically lets you ambush people in mid combat as long as you're able to hide, which is something you can't normally do. Like once combat started, you can't ambush people anymore. So you can look through those three and decide maybe which one of those might be best.
Yeah.
Because the way that it works for the blessed creature is they just can use the charm reflexively. They don't gain an essence score, but it doesn't cost them anything to do it. They just can choose to do it. And while you're shopping for that, we had a couple other things that needed to be built, right? Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, your next was influence, and that was going to be Western territories, correct?
Yes.
And then what was your tertiary merit?
Contacts.
Contacts. And those were going to be within your house.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And let me just check and see if there's anything in there that we actually need to build in either of those merits, because sometimes there's a little bit of extra construction that needs to happen. Okay, so they're just able to kind of help you. You don't need to really do much building. For the contacts, for the influence, Nope, this again just is more used. It gives you bonuses to rolls where it might apply. So cool. Nothing really further to construct there. Make sure you just had mundane armor. Your only artifact was a weapon, so you don't really have to
Yeah.
do any much tweaking there. You've got the artifact weapons traits written down on your sheet.
There's no other place to write it down, so I'm starting a doc, like just a regular Google Docs or something like that, to just write everything down.
Sure.
Reflavoring. I'll just put the great weapon stats on.
Right, you want like the basic die modifiers and shit, like those numbers. You want to make sure you have on your sheet just for easy reference. But yeah, other than that, that sounds solid. Ryan, what other merits did you have to build? You had the familiar. You have a battle group to build, correct?
Yeah, command gives me a choice of a couple of options
And you took command
as my primary.
primary.
So
Okay, yeah. So yeah,
at
you
least
can have a group up to size 5 with elite drill and the traits of champions, or 2 size 5 groups with elite drill, or
or 5 size 5 with average drill.
yep.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's up to you. I love it, and that's handy. And you are about to go on a wild hunt, so these things do matter. So my recommendation for the ease of your management would be to go with 1 size 5 that are champions.
That's what I was leaning towards, particularly for people watching who don't know. A size 5 battle group is up to 1,000. It's over 1,000 fighters. It's a full army.
Right.
And I should not have 5,000 troops in my command.
Probably not, but there you are. So if you take those straight up, so yeah, it's a full army of over 1,000, has 30 health levels and an overwhelming of 5. And it said the drill for those is elite. Is that correct?
I think so. Elite drill and the traits of champions.
Yep. So that means you have a success modifier 3. You make a route check when you're reduced to half their maximum health levels. And they have the deadly ground quality. Let me just look and see what that does real quick. Enemies in close range reduce their defense by 1. So, like, not only is your battle group awesome, but they actually literally erode the defense of those you're facing.
Deadly ground.
Yep. And then, so the traits of champions. So that would mean you would go to page 330.
That feel when all of your summons have better combat stats than you. Which is what's to be expected, I guess.
I mean, it is the point. So yeah, copy down those traits, or just make a note that that's the traits your battle group uses. Had you settled on which one of those charms you wanted to go with for your panther?
Yeah, I'm doing the Shadow Talon execution
Awesome.
in ambush at any time.
I love it. Perfect.
Pounce out of the shadows.
Cool. Does anyone else have anything that has not been constructed that would need to be constructed?
I have a question.
Sure.
About the familiar, the template, the stat blocks. It says It's a secondary, so you increase the pool by 1. Does that mean that looking at this stat block, I increase all of these by 1? Like, how does that work?
So anything that's listed as a pool, so the primary pool, secondary pool, tertiary pool, those three
Okay.
go up by 1. Everything else stays the same.
Got it.
And I'm assuming, because I saw in the animal creation section, there was a list of suggested primary, secondary, tertiary pools. I assume we pick from something like that for our familiars as well. So they've got
No, you're familiar
like
as a template.
Oh yeah, but it just says primary pool. So is it
Yeah.
like primary pool applies to 2 or 3?
Oh, yes,
These
yes.
2 actions. Yeah,
You
cool.
pick the actions that the primary and the secondary pool apply to. Absolutely, yes.
How do I do that?
Uh,
What do you mean by that?
So it can be, if you look at the animals chapter, or the animal section, you'll see, and I think that's 324, you'll see that there's some things that are listed, but basically it'll be like a type of action. So for example, your Jaguar probably has, or Panther, I'm sorry, Panther, Jaguar? I can't remember which one you
It's the
said you
same
wanted.
thing.
And they probably have like stealth as one of their primary pool actions, and probably like combat can be one of them, or like biting, right? And then they might have running and swimming as their secondary pool actions. So what happens then is anytime that they are you taking that type of action, they roll the appropriate pool. If you don't have an action written down on the character sheet, it goes down to the tertiary pool.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Why are there so many cool liminal charms? I mean, just why are there so many cool charms in general? Well, otherwise, because they're all cool. But a lot of the non-general charms require force, finesse, or fortitude at a certain rank. How do you want to handle that with?
As long as it is half of their primary pool,
Cool.
you're good.
I think that's all of them. I may have to go through this off stream because there's a lot of cool things.
Yeah, that's fine. Is there anything else that needs to be calculated at this point or built?
I think I'm good on my end. Yeah. Should be set up. I had to swap around a couple of things but then I mean we're character creating, so that'll happen. But
For sure.
as long as the idea is still there, and oh, what about the Great Curse? What are we doing with that?
Oh, yes. I apologize. The Great Curse. So it works differently for each Exalt type. And I believe for Dragon Bloods, it's kind of the least of a problem for all of you, which I guess is fortunate. But it still can... go ahead.
I was going to say, on Dragon, in the grand scheme of things, relatively speaking, my understanding is that Dragon Bloods are the air quote weakest of the Exalt types. So that
You might say that. The
would make sense.
closest to human, I guess you'd say.
That's a better way of phrasing it, yeah.
And they're very much more built on working in a large group as opposed to like being one-on-one, which is what most of the other Exalts are built around. So everyone has 2 conditions that will set off the Great Curse. every type of exalt. If you act against a major intimacy or act against a major virtue, that will kick off the great curse for you. Just a thing to be aware of. Dragon Bloods theirs is again milder than everyone else. You might even return to normal within the events of a single scene. Each aspect has its own additional condition for inciting the great curse. So we have air, wood, and water, right? An air aspect, if their ideals are changed by challenged by individual failings or the state of the world, that can cause the great curse to kick off. You're gonna have a lot of problems. For the water, for the water aspect, if you confront dangerous and difficult obstacles that are not soon overcome, that can kick off the great curse. And the wood aspect, if you experience overwhelming sensations, either of your own or by proxy, those that you care for.
Really leans into that loyalty intimacy. So
Yep, and the way that it works, the way that it manifests for the dragon blooded is you have elemental behaviors that blend insidiously into the exalt's life. Here, I'm going to list some examples, but you can also develop your own elemental behaviors. So air aspects might ignore the consequences of pursuing their own idealism or lash out at those who try to moderate their behavior or convince them to take a different course. Water aspects tend to attack obstacles that stymie them with total abandon, utilizing disproportionate, ruthless, or impractical means without hesitation. And wood aspects may pursue greater and greater hedonistic pursuits, glutting on the sensations of overindulgence, or even the moldering lows in its wake, or instead envelop those people that surround them in equally overwhelming and nigh stifling attempts to nurture and control them. So you start becoming like, almost like Munchausen's by proxy. You're like, I'll keep you all safe.
yeah.
You'll be safe when you're chained in my basement.
Oh, yep.
Awesome. So those are your great curse. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. So yeah, effectively how this is going to begin is you are all going to be in a city in the West. That city will be under the control of House Pelops, and you will have been called there to orchestrate a wild hunt. A strange exalt, based on the reports that they're getting, it seems that a strange exalt of a type that no one has seen before has appeared in the Wavecrest archipelago and is raising an army, claiming that they have the divine right to not only seize control of the archipelago, but also of the western coast and restore it to its true glory, is what they seem to be claiming. Descriptions of this exalt vary. All that you know for sure is that she is a charismatic leader, and she seems to manifest an anima banner unlike anyone has ever seen before. When she exerts her power, glowing energy in black and white surrounds her, showing different scenes of battle and destruction. And that's going to be kind of the basis that we're going to be leaping off from when we return for our session 1. The last thing that I wanted to, I guess, run by you, because I remember there was one more character thing I needed to touch base with Bliss about, which was your ally. Would you prefer it to be someone who is incredibly powerful but a little harder to reach, or someone that's slightly less powerful but much easier for you to access?
I think the latter.
Okay.
I've been looking up the like major characters of the house. Could it be like one of those named people that's like
Yeah, so my suggestion, if you wanted it to be like the did you have one, I guess, in particular in mind?
yeah, there's one Cessus Rainia Terrell, who is one of the kids of the Cessus guy. And he seems interesting to me because he's like a very clever swordsman and duelist. He's very popular. He has a great deal of hangers on and many lovers, and he's kind of a libertine. He indulges in stuff. I'm thinking that like, you know, he takes on a lot of people and then reports on them later. And so I'm thinking like I'm the only person that he sees as like that he actually has a crush on.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
And yeah, so I hold some power over him in that way. And yeah, so he'll come in and help out sometimes, and always try to deny to himself that I'm the only one that he actually likes.
Beautiful. I love it. So yeah, just make a note that that's who your contact is, and
Mhm.
maybe also note just that page 65 of Dragon Blooded is where I can find his quick description, because that might come in handy for me later.
Yeah.
And then I guess that brings us to the last thing that we need to do for our characters to be ready, which would be everybody's going to need a name. The typical naming convention of the realm is that your surname comes first, and then you have a given name. Did you all have names in mind for your characters?
No, that yeah, that's gonna take a while for me at least.
Sure. And Michael, is your character going to be claiming a Cessus name?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on yours, Ryan?
Tepet Maris, the still heart of the storm.
Excellent. I love it. Any thoughts on a name for yours, Bless?
Mm, uh, mm, let me think of fancy words that like mean things.
It's fancy words that have meanings. That could be your name. Cessus fancy words that has meanings.
Long name, you guys.
Cool. Well, I guess if that being the case, just one last pass. Does anybody have anything besides names that needs to be worked on their sheet?
It's something I did note. It's a bit late to fix it now, obviously, but if you're messing around with motes and essence to set it, clicking certain motes gives you extra essence.
Oh,
So
it's not too late to fix that. I can, if you all can send me your character sheets when you get done making them, I can go through and correct.
yeah, it looks like it's if you any of the first
First
three
three motes,
motes just
Yeah.
adds an extra essence dot for some reason.
All right. I can go in and fix that in
selected.
Adobe.
I've just blocked out the notes I don't have, so it's not really an issue. It's just something I noticed when I was doing it.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure that'll come up to be an issue during play. So I'll report that to Mike so that we can get it corrected. But I will, if you send me your sheets, I will correct it and send you fixed sheets.
Cool. I was going to send you my sheet anyway, so you
Yeah,
had a copy of it.
I would love to have a copy of your sheets just to have for my reference. All right, cool. Does anyone have any, I guess, final questions, comments, complaints, or concerns? Otherwise, we can wrap things a little early because I don't really want to dive into starting our story quite yet, other than giving you that seed of kind of what to expect. So yeah, any final thoughts or questions or concerns? Oh, you know what? The whole thing I forgot to do. Our general safety tools or calibration tools, if you prefer. So I always use the X card, which I think people are largely familiar with, but to give you the briefest of descriptions, if there's an element that pops up in the story that you are not comfortable with, you may say X, you may type X in the Zoom chat, you may make an X with your hands, however you want to tackle it. If you make an X, I will stop and I will remove the offending material. The only time I would ever ask you any question whatsoever about an X card is if I was literally confused as to why you were playing the X card. I don't imagine that would happen, but you never know. Sometimes you encounter somebody has a weird, I don't want to say weird, but like a uncommon, squick or phobia, and they don't think to bring it up during, safety tools because why would that ever come up, right? And then. There it is. So in that case, I might ask like a clarifying question, but I'm not going to dive into details about it. It's not my business. I don't care. Like it's beyond making sure I just don't create the problem again. Beyond that, we have, I like to do what I call yes go and no go. So yes goes are things we want to see. No goes are things that we absolutely do not want to see. For me, my yes goes tend to be gore, and my no goes are SA. I just do not ever see a reason for that to take place in game. So I will also say that one person's no go trumps everybody's yes go. So if any of you are like, I'm squeamish, I don't want blood spraying everywhere, I'm happy to say, okay, then there we go. No, we'll dial back the gore. Having said that, Bliss, do you have any yes goes or no goes that you would like to add to the proceedings?
Not really. I'm good with whatever. I agree with yours actually.
Okay,
That's all. I'm good.
fair enough. How about Michael?
Yeah, I'm piggybacking off of yours as well. I don't think I have any other stipulations.
Okay, and then Ryan, what are your thoughts? Any other yes goes, no goes you'd like to add?
In terms of no goes, cancer for sure. Just yeah, and it's not. It's one of those where as long as it's handled sensitively when it comes up, I'm fine with it. But I have a real thing about don't know how to phrase this. I guess the core conceit is just like emotional abuse.
Okay.
Or classic one that I struggle with a lot with vampire is the mental manipulation, mind control stuff you can do in vampire. It just makes me extremely uncomfortable.
So is it in terms of like a loss of agency, or is it in terms
Yeah,
of
loss of agency is the exact phrase I was struggling to find.
Okay. Yeah, and I have no issue with that. I have no intention of taking away player agency. One thing that I will say I have in the past I've run into a game where like one of our no-goes was loss of agency. We got 4 sessions in and this player started walking down a path where I was very much like, if you continue walking down this path, this would cause a loss of age. Like, you are going to become overwhelmed by this power. How do you want to play that? And then they were like, no, I know what I'm doing. like in this case, it's fine because I'm planning it. So I'm open to, if you feel like things are going that direction, I'm open to that discussion coming up at that point too. To you saying like, hey, this feels a little bit like it's going this way, and I can course correct so it's not. I don't have any intention of it, and it's not the type of thing that generally happens to Exalted.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than, just for clarification, understanding that some people may interpret the way the Great Curse manifests as a loss of agency. And I just want to make sure that you're comfortable with playing out the Great Curse manifestation as it's written. Or do I need to make some alterations to how that works?
No, it's more more like the interpersonal loss of agency, not
Right. Somebody using
you know,
dominate
like-
and telling you to go take a dump on the salad bar at Wendy's
Yeah.
is different.
and
than,
like I say, I don't mind it when it's handled sensitively, but what not I don't, not expecting it will happen, but when it just comes out of nowhere and it's like, oh, I have to do this thing now that is utterly out of character or just makes me uncomfortable as a player to role play through. That's where it kind of comes from.
Sure. I guess.
But
Okay.
as you say, it doesn't happen to Exalts that often. Anyway, so
Yeah, it's not that type of game. The more likely is that your intimacies and virtues will be used against you to paint you into a corner where you're likely to react a certain way, but not.
that's tragic.
Right.
That's
right.
it's not mind control. It's just good tragedy.
Exactly. The only other issue, I guess, that I want to make sure that I just kind of address, mainly just so that we have addressed it, is that the setting as written includes slavery and a slave trade. I just don't intend on touching on that subject. I don't think it's going to come into play in our sessions. And B, if it were to come into play the way that anywhere that labor is being done, I would shift it to summon demons, elementals, and creatures. Yes, it's still terrible to make sentient people do things that they're against their will, but it's a little different in my mind when it's imaginary creatures that don't really exist. There's a slight level of separation there that makes it a little less squicky to deal with. Like I said, in the event that even comes up, probably won't, given the story that I have in mind. But should it come up, that will be it'll be limited to the realm of supernatural beings that are conjured or created.
I guess for people who've not read the book, it's worth pointing out there is a sidebar addressing this and pointing out that this is universally considered a bad thing in the game.
Right.
But like, as a player perspective, like it's there for you to explore the fight back against things of that nature.
Right. Yeah. I just don't feel. I don't feel that A, it's pertinent to the story that we're telling, but B, that this is the forum to do that. You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
That's just that's the way that I wanted to run at this time. Want to make sure everybody's comfortable with that level of material in that regard. If anybody has any objection or thing they wanted to add to that, you're welcome to do so. Any questions or concerns about that aspect?
No, I just want to clarify that the rules for my necromantic horrors are that they are explicitly mindless puppets rather than sapient creatures.
Right. Yeah. You're not raising
apart from the familiar, but
right, it's not like Grandpa. It's just some bones. Yeah. Fair enough. Cool. Well, in that case, then I suppose we will button things up a little bit on the early side today. I have a good note of our safety tools. We've gone over the various issues that may or may not pop up. Like I said, there will definitely be gore. There will almost certainly be some level of intrigue going on that happens. I may at times be rolling some playtest material out during this during this campaign. We'll see how that goes. Depending on who you fight and what corners you wind up in, I might try to sneak in a couple things that are behind the scenes being worked on. So if we're playing anything in particular that contains that, I'll make sure to bring it up that session so you know. And so that way you can also say, this thing that's been happening to us this session is really fucking broken and we shouldn't, like I don't know how you one hit my entire battle group and all of us, but maybe you should fix that. So that way everybody's aware. And again, if ever there's a concern, feel free to bring it up to me, either on camera, off camera. If you feel like we need to take a break at some point, you can message me on Zoom. We will take a break. And yeah, other than that, I think we're ready to rock and roll when we return in 2 weeks' time. Yes, 2 weeks' time.
This was certainly billed as fortnightly.
Double check my calendar to make sure there's not anything funky. I think I checked on it because I wound up going to Gen Con kind of unplanned. I'm going to be going to Gen Con. But yeah, this will miss Gen Con week. So yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for our session 1. I am looking forward to it. I have had a great time building characters with everybody, and I think we have a fun little group to take on this what should be just a simple cakewalk of a wild hunt, right? I'm sure nothing will go wrong. I'm sure everything will be fine.
Yeah, we got 1,000 soldiers.
Whenever someone says that, I don't know about that one.
That is fair. All right, so let's go ahead and do our outros. We'll kick things off this time with Ryan. If you could please tell us who you are, what you do, who you're playing, your pronouns, their pronouns, and anything you would care to promote.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan. My pronouns are they, them. I will be playing Tepet Maris, the Still Heart of the Storm. Pronouns are to be decided. But yeah, I stream here on the Onyx Path channel. I'll be back theoretically on Tuesday at 9 a.m. I believe it is Eastern.
I think so, yeah.
And I'll be talking Onyx Path Con retrospective about how my actual plays went. Spoilers, phenomenally well for my players. Yeah, I stream here on Twitch as well, Comrade Bubbles, as well as writing and editing for whatever RPG publishing company will hire me.
Glorious, beautiful, and thank you so much for being here. Always a blast. Next up, Michael, your pertinence, please.
I'm Michael, he, they, and I just came up with a name, Cessus Volcan.
Excellent.
And, but also in the background is actually Acelsi Avenala. And,
beautiful.
We don't know pronouns for him yet, but I stream either music or TTRPG or gaming things here on Twitch, over on my channel as a VTuber. I am currently restructuring, so there's going to be a little bit of a lull in streams right now, but I do audio design, voice acting, and composing for any sort of facets and everything. So yeah, that's me.
And that is it. And your channel is at Asterisk VTuber, correct?
Asterisk VTuber, yes, that is correct.
Excellent. I've thrown that link in the chat. People should definitely head over and give follows. I've also linked Comrade Bubbles' channel in the chat as well.
Thank you.
Definitely be sure to check those out. And last but never least, Bliss, your pertinent details, please.
I am Bliss Steele, pronoun she, her. I am playing Cessus Telrea Penumbra.
Love it.
Also pronoun she, her. And I stream video games on Spicy Sites, and you can find out more about that at blisssteele.com as long as you are over 18. I'll be streaming later today on Joystick and the other site, some Oblivion, so that'll be cool.
Awesome. Rock and roll. And thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I say this, from the bottom of my heart, Bliss, you're one of my favorite carbon-based life forms. It's good to be able to hang out. Thank you for being here. Right back at you. I'm Travis. Pronouns are he, they. And when I'm not running games, I am writing them. Again, before we bounce out, I just want to remind you that Exalted Essence is available over at Drive-Thru RPG right now in PDF and POD. Throw that link in the chat there for you. And of course, I am currently running a Kickstarter. I got 6 days left on it for Bizarre Kingdoms for Savage Worlds. It is part of my Odysseys and Overlords setting that I publish through Aegis Studios. I would love any support you can lend, whether it be going over and backing or even just sharing the link on your social media. If you look up, I'm Travis Legg pretty much everywhere on the internet. And if you look up my YouTube, you should be able to see some actual plays. And I know that the good folks over at Rolling Nomads did an actual play last night. And I ran an actual play over at Roll for Seduction last night. And Bliss, was everybody that was here on that actual play that we ran over my channel? Michael,
I
I
was
can't.
not there.
Yeah, I was gonna say somebody wasn't there. It was Michael. Yeah, I think it wasn't there. But yeah, I also ran an actual play that's over on my Twitch channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you for the space to tell some fun stories, and we cannot wait to see you 2 weeks from now. Till then, wash your hands, get your shots, all that good stuff, and see you next time. Bye.